Welcome one and welcome all to the greatest show of them all. It is the NFC East Mixtape volume 175, 25 more, and we will hit 200 on our lives. He is Brandon Lee Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation. I am RJ Ochoa from Blog and the Boys. You can watch this show normally every Tuesday, lunchtime-ish, on the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel and Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. But Brandon so astutely suggested we wait until after the trade deadline this week, which is why we are here on Wednesday, November the 5th. So BLG, two things, happy hump day, and remember, the 5th of November.
The gunpowder treason and plot?
Oh, I don't know what comes next. I also was going to...
I remember no reason why the gunpowder...
Just to add another thing, this is the day that Marty McFly traveled back in time to. In fact, it was 70 years ago today that Marty McFly landed in 1955. So pretty cool.
How was your Halloween, RJ?
It was very good. My son was Super Mario. My wife was Princess Peach. I was Yoshi. And, I live in South Texas, and so it doesn't get super cold here. We have our little spells and whatnot, but it was cool. It was cool, and that made it lovely. I can't recall a lot of Halloweens that I've had like that and going trick-or-treating or whatnot. Normally, it's still a little humid, but it was awesome. It was amazing, and it was right before the time changed and whatnot. The Cowboys didn't play on the weekend, although they did, if you want to call it playing, played on Monday night. So it was great vibes, great times. How was the beach?
It was good. Had a nice dinner out with Rachel and her parents. And we also watched The Shining, as I told you we would. So we had a good time, and they also had some, birthday treats for me. So very nice of them. A nice little pumpkin beer. I forget the brand exactly. I think it was Alyssan. I'm not 100% sure about that. Anyway, great time with them. Great time all around this weekend because it was, for the Philadelphia Eagles, who are on their bye.
Hang on. I have one last non-football thing before we dive in. Okay. I think it's something you'll appreciate. And we do have a time limit today. Brandon has a hard out. So we have approximately an hour and we'll get going. But I don't think I told you this, but I still have not watched season 4 of Stranger Things. I know that's big in your life. So I was watching the 3rd season of The Diplomat. I finished that. So I'm going to watch season 4. I've forgotten when all the episodes come out. It's very dumb and stupid and overly whatever. But I believe the first one is sometime soon-ish in this month. So I'm going to start season 4 of Stranger Things probably tonight. I'm very excited about it.
Excited to hear your thoughts, I guess, on next week's episode. And we'll see how far you get in. Are you ready for some...
We didn't really talk about this, like our plan for this week. It is post-trade deadline. There are some massive things. We obviously normally go in divisional standing and divisional order. The Eagles did not play last week. I know they made a trade, if that's what we're going to talk about here, for Jalen Phillips. It was a great trade, smart trade. Howie, again, I guess this is talking about the Eagles. The trade may suck. This is my full stance on the Eagles, until this is proven to not be fair. They deserve all benefit of the doubt. So if you want to call it an overpay, if you want to call it whatever, I saw a lot of, different sides of the argument on the internet. Who cares? Because if this dude makes one play in the NFC Championship game, it was totally worth it. And that's the Howie Roseman style at this point.
They also had 3 third-round picks. So it's not like, don't have your third-round pick. Yeah, they do. They don't have their own, literally. But they have they're still going to get the Jets' third-round pick, which we'll get to the Jets later. And the Jets are now even worse off as a team. So that's good for the Eagles in terms of it's already likely the Jets were bad, but it really just kind of only helps them get a higher third-round pick from the Jets. And then the comp pick that they're likely to get for losing Milton Williams. So they still, and then just even on the whole, they have 6 projected picks currently in the top 4 rounds. Might have 7 if Bryce Huff ends up getting 8 sacks on the season here with a conditional 5th from the 49ers. So that's part of the reason I like the deal too, is just because you're not going to roster all those draft picks probably anyway. Why not go out and get someone who can help a clear position of need for this team? They needed more edge rushing help. They got one. It's really not a question of Jalen Phillips being a good player or a good fit. Obviously, he does fit in the Vic Fangio defense. We saw him have one of his best seasons in the past when he played for Vic Fangio. That's not the question. The question is, can he stay healthy? And I don't know. If he does, great. And if he doesn't, well, it could certainly not age well. I will say, just an amazing bye week for the Eagles as a whole.
Right.
Between that trade, which actually happened after all the games, except for the Monday night game.
No, I thought the trade happened on Friday or before. Everything feels disjointed for me.
Happened on Monday morning, but there was talk late last week that they could be interested in Jalen Phillips for a 3rd round pick. So it was not a shock that they ended up making the move for him. But yeah, I mean, basically everyone the Eagles wanted to lose did lose on Sunday in Week 9, and then Monday the Eagles are atop the division at 6-2 on the one sports betting app I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at the Eagles and seeing that they are minus 2,500 to win the division. For those people who do not know what that means in gambling terms, you would have to bet $2,500 just to win $100. So they are prohibitive favorites at this point to win the division. Doesn't guarantee they will. The NFC East repeat curse is out there. They obviously had a really good chance to win it in 2023 before they collapsed. So we will see. But it's just a great time to be the Philadelphia Eagles right now. They had their best game of the season entering the bye. They had a great bye. And now they have, in what should be an improved roster, not only the Jalen Phillips trade, but adding Jair Alexander and Michael Carter the second as well. Not that they're necessarily starters for this team, might just be depth pieces, but still, it's a good time for the Philadelphia Eagles, man.
You talked about the division losing, and obviously we care most about the division here, but the Packers lost and the Lions lost. That's why it was also a significant week for the Eagles. I heard Greg Olsen is on Bustin' with the Boys every week, kind of recapping the NFL games, and he was talking to Will Compton and Taylor Lewan. This was prior to last week, so following the win you're talking about. And they were debating the Eagles versus the Lions. And Greg Olsen's point was, okay, yeah, I mean, I think the Lions might be a better team. But who do you think is more likely to win their division? And therefore where, because the Lions maybe, like, you can argue that the Lions are a better team, but you could also live in that argument and say, well, if they meet in the playoffs, the game would probably be in Philadelphia, just because the Lions may be a wild card team because the Packers are so good. Obviously, that argument took a bit of a hit with the loss to Carolina on Sunday at Lambeau, but you get the point. And that's why you make no apologies for winning your division. Even if you win it with a below 500 record, you can get that home playoff game and anything can happen. Greg Olsen talked about he was on a sub 500 team that won a division, obviously, in the NFC South. So that's why that context matters. I don't really have anything else to add to the Eagles. It was obviously a great bye week for them. And I have an Eagles stop, but it's a Cowboys thing, obviously, in relation to the trade and whatnot. So if you're ready, we can move. That was clearly the biggest thing that happened to the division outside of the Jaden Daniels injury, which we'll get to, obviously.
And very much, in play for the 1 seed here. They're currently like the number 1 team in the NFC playoff picture as it currently stands. They have the tiebreaker over the Bucs from beating them. They have the tiebreaker over the Rams from beating them. Tiebreaker with the Packers wouldn't matter since they have tied this year, tied the Cowboys, unless the Eagles end up with a tie. But Eagles play the Packers this week, so we'll see how that goes, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Eagles also play the Lions, I believe, next week, so that'll be a very big game potentially for the seeding in the NFC. But yeah, I mean, they're in a really good spot right now. Doesn't mean things can't change for the worse, but right now everything is trending positively. So why don't you get to your point that transitions us nicely here?
Well, the Cowboys lost on Monday night, and this is actually a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. As Brandon can attest, it's always awkward when your team plays on a Monday night, when you do what we do, because you have to smush everything together. You have to do all sorts of recap things on Tuesday, and that's still happening on Wednesday as you're already spinning forward to the next week. The Cowboys don't have a game this week as they're on their bye, but the Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson's not getting a lot of pub. But those trades have just kind of absorbed all the oxygen in the room. So we still have now, 2 days later and on a Wednesday at that, lots of post-game material coming out. But I don't know how relevant the Cowboys losing beyond the obvious is to our discussion here. They lost. It was embarrassing. The offense played poorly as well for the second week in a row, which invites questions about now whether or not the whole team is just a disaster. The defense is very clearly a disaster, as evidenced by the trades. But again, I think that the trades are the subject and the point of interest that everybody has relative to the team. That being said, I want to be very clear here. All right. And I say this from a point of instruction, not from a point of talking down to anybody. The Dallas Cowboys have quite possibly the largest professional sports franchise fan group in the United States. If you looked at the fans who root for any team in America, I would offer the Cowboys maybe have the most from a quantitative point of view. Because that is the case, you can find someone who said anything. So you can get and crawl up in my Twitter mentions or Instagram DMs and be like, well, I heard Cowboys fans saying this. Okay, that's great. I think that a large majority, the most objective, rational majority of Cowboys fans feel like the Quinnen Williams and Logan Wilson trades don't really do anything to salvage the 2025 season. I think everybody agrees that the 2025 season, obviously it would be great if they rallied and things worked out. That goes without saying. But in all likelihood, everybody agrees that that is not going to happen. But these trades, potentially, because you can't give the Cowboys front office a benefit of the doubt because, these trades potentially underscore that they have defined 2026 and 2027 to be, I hate this term in sports, but a window. Those are the years of team control they have over these two new players. Those are the 2 years that seemingly line up with the rest of Dak Prescott's prime, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, if they get a new deal done with him, which now jumps to be priority number one for them in the offseason, the young offensive line. My point is the difficult decisions this franchise, the franchise-altering decisions they're going to have to make probably don't come until after that 2027 season. So in that respect, the trade is great. I view it as an advance on building for the 2026 season. And again, if it provides results in 2025, nobody's going to turn that down. But I do believe that that is where the majority of people are coming from. But sure, you can point to that one person on Facebook who said the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl now that they traded for Quinnen Williams.
So contextualizing what the Cowboys look like this year in terms of just where they currently stand, they're 11th in the NFC playoff picture.
And they've lost tiebreakers from a wild card standpoint. Even if you wanted to look at things that way at this point to the Panthers, that's valuable because the Panthers.
The tiebreaker doesn't matter though.
I'm just saying, like they've already lost to the Panthers and the Cardinals. Like their NFC losses are piling up on top of the fact that they're 3-5-1.
That would matter with the Packers. Yeah, if the Packers fall down.
I know. I said Panthers. I said Panthers. I was
I'm saying the tiebreakers don't matter unless the Packers fall into a range. Unless there's another team that ties, is what I'm saying.
That's true. That's you're saying the literal tie. That's true.
Yes,
it is still very difficult to remember that happened. Okay.
Yes.
Continue.
Yeah, for sure. So that would be but they would probably lose the one to the Packers because of those conference losses. So that does hurt them.
Although the Packers lost to the Panthers. So
absolutely. The Cowboys are plus 850 to make the playoffs. So what that means, again, if you don't know betting too well, you could bet $100 and win $850 if the Cowboys make the playoffs. If you feel really good about them getting out of this and making a big rebound to bounce back, which said.
I don't know where you're looking, but our preferred sports betting partner at SB Nation has the Cowboys at plus 710. So.
Okay, well, either way,
I'm just
not a very likely outcome.
No, I agree with you. I'm just if someone wants to go make a bet, they should make it at your sports book that you're not supporting our line of work if they want to make money, if they believe in the Cowboys.
So long shot there, but crazier things have happened. You derailed my point. I totally forgot what I was going to say.
You were talking about their playoff odds, that they were a long shot, current season picture outlook.
Yeah. Well, we have been talking about this little stretch here where the Cowboys play both the Cardinals and the Raiders, right, coming up after the bye. Like that's a prime opportunity to bank some wins before the schedule gets a lot tougher coming up here. So they have not done that so far. So that's tough for them in that regard. Anyway, getting on to the actual trades themselves. I think Logan Wilson trade is fine. And
I think the Logan Wilson trade is great. Like
I don't know if it's great.
In a vacuum, they paid a 7th round pick for a player that's
for a player
really good.
On the worst defense, one of the worst defenses in the NFL, who got benched.
He was only benched because they were trying to trade him. We can apply that context. Again, you can talk about the Bengals being a bad defense and him contributing to that. For what it's worth, Joe Goodberry, who's I would say the foremost Bengals person on the internet, spoke very highly of Logan Wilson. So I trust his opinion on that matter. But my point is they're giving up a 7th round. If Howie Roseman gave up a 7th round draft pick for a veteran who was fairly good with 2 years of team control, people would call it an A+. In a vacuum, it's an A+.
I don't know if he'll be good. I don't know. Anyway, but that obviously the bigger point of discussion is the Quinnen Williams trade. I still think you have to, at least I view this through the lens of like the Micah Parsons trade was dumb. So therefore it's not like you don't just get to like sweep that under the rug and be like, well, this is our reality now because we have these assets from a trade. It doesn't matter how we got those. No, it does matter how you got those. And I think my good friend Ben Solak has outlined this. It's possible the Cowboys gave up similar value to get Quinnen Williams. It depends on how these draft picks shake out. obviously. But with the Cowboys giving up the 2026 second round pick, I know the Cowboys will still have 2 first round picks this year, so that's good for them. But that first round pick in 2027, the better, the more favorable of the picks between the
Dallas and Green Bay
Packers, that's tough, especially with how it lines up with Dak Prescott's contract here, because Dak Prescott is going to be on the Cowboys for sure in 2026, and perhaps
no. Oh, there you go. Your internet cut out. I think you're back now.
Sorry. Dak Prescott, $40 million guaranteed in his contract for 2026. No guaranteed money beyond that year. Guaranteed salary, I should say. So that could be a pivot point if Dak plays poorly, whatever, or if the franchise isn't looking good, kind of want to reset. And you're in a situation where you need a quarterback like that. It might not work out that way. It might be fine. Quentin Williams could be great. Could be the position where the Cowboys don't need a quarterback. But if they do, that's not a good situation to be in there. There is risk for sure. There's a massive downside there, potential if things don't go well. So I don't love it from that standpoint. I do give the Cowboys credit for not just trying to salvage this season. If it were me and what I wanted to happen for the Cowboys from an Eagles perspective, I would want the Cowboys to give up a second round pick for Trey Hendrickson, and put all these resources into just trying to salvage this season and not consider the future. So I do give them credit about thinking beyond this year. Although I will say the Quentin Williams deal, I know he's under contract through 2027.
You can make an argument he'll want an extension after.
Exactly. He's not playing on that final year of his deal, again, with the no guaranteed money. So they're really going to have to make a decision after this season or after next season. And it's just if you're giving the money to him, I just think that goes back to, why didn't you give this money to Micah Parsons?
Look, okay, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm not trying to argue with anyone. I'm just trying to offer my perspective as somebody who does what I do. And you cannot say that this is in relation to or a result of or was the long-term goal when the Micah Parsons trade happened. We can all just maturely acknowledge that the Micah Parsons, not even trade, but situation, the lack of extension, not just in the calendar year of 2024, but the calendar year of 2025, but the calendar year of 2024. The Dallas Cowboys should have extended Micah Parsons at the calendar year beginning, or the new league year beginning in 2024, when he was first eligible for a contract extension. I've said many times, I've told you many times, I've said it on this show many times, that they were very fortunate that Micah did not weaponize the fact that they dragged the Dak deal, the CD deal, and the training camp was all awkward and a cluster and whatnot. He could have made that very, very, very difficult. Everybody wants to pile on him, and I get it because of the laying on the training table and all that stuff, but him playing in the 2024 season when he did was a show of good faith. Again, all these things exist in a vacuum. If you want to tie them together, you're just wasting your own energy. But that being said, the Cowboys dragging their feet, playing stupid games with Micah Parsons, ultimately trading Micah Parsons for a price that I think we all said at the time was low, and has been underscored by the fact that Sauce Gardner effectively went for the same compensation to the Indianapolis Colts. It was dumb. I don't think that anyone is saying, oh, the Quentin Williams trade undoes it. I don't think that anyone's saying, oh, I'd rather have this. Oh, this actually works out better because you have the salary cap relief. I think the most optimistic possible reality result of the just tunnel of sludge that we have crawled through, like Andy Dufresne, is that hopefully, maybe, and we're giving them a benefit of the doubt that they do not deserve, to be very clear here, the Cowboys learned a lesson from playing a very stupid game with Micah Parsons and are trying to atone and trying to say, let's be a little bit different. I'm not foolish or naive enough to necessarily believe that that's the case, but if you're tying them together, it's not even low-hanging fruit. It's not reality. It's not fair. That's not what happened, because they're not a franchise that operates with that much forward or even current moment thought in question. So you have to acknowledge that they did a very dumb thing. I think they're kind of acknowledging that they did a very dumb thing. It was dumb. It will always be dumb. Trading Amari Cooper for a 5th-round pick was dumb, and nothing ever made that better. But the Quentin Williams trade seems to be, we all hope it is, at least from a Cowboys vantage point, a declaration and a commitment towards adult activity from here on out.
Yeah, we'll see. It really depends, how they handle the contract with him. Like if they just have him play out his contract, he's not a long-term piece for them, then it's a really bad trade, especially, again, depending on how the Cowboys do and if they need a quarterback and they don't have that primary asset in the future to get one. So I just don't love the trade for him. I think it's good for them that they're thinking beyond this year. I give them credit for that, but I also think that this could come back to bite them in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that at all, but I think you could argue that the Sauce Gardner trade could bite the Colts in a weird way.
Absolutely.
Like, I
hate that trade for the Colts.
And comparing the Cowboys to the Eagles or whatever is a fruitless exercise, right? Like we can all acknowledge that this franchise but people do. Like this franchise is uniquely chaotic and uniquely toxic and uniquely dramatic. And so assessing what any of them or any of their moves are relative to anyone else is, again, just a waste of your own time. You have to understand that this is a team that, like Jerry Jones loves to say, pays attention to when leaves fall and acts according to his will. And we're all stuck and trapped by it, but it's just the reality of the situation. It's not one that we like or we endorse. It's just one that we understand, and we're trying to get you to understand in the same sort of sense. I did want to say one last thing about the Quinnen Williams trade. Because I've seen this conversation float now, because you can't help it. Like there are some people who are like, maybe. And like, I don't think it is almost impossible, but it's obviously not impossible. They could be a wild card. That would be their only realistic path to the playoffs in a world with 3 wild cards. For what it's worth, since 2021, when the NFL introduced 17 games to a season and 3 wild card berths, there have been 43 teams prior to this season who had 3 or fewer wins through the first 9 games of a season. Cowboys are 3-5-1. 4 of those 43 teams went on to make the playoffs. The 2021 Eagles were actually one of them. So it is possible. It's very, very, very difficult, but you just never know. And obviously that's the level of hope that everybody has relative to the 2025 season for the Cowboys. But I have seen the conversation around, when the Cowboys traded for Amari Cooper, they fell to 3-5 and still won the division. Very different set of circumstances here. And it's difficult to put into a tweet. So the Cowboys were 3-4 in 2018 when they traded for Amari Cooper, and they lost their first game with him, which was also on Monday Night Football. Incidentally, that was Jason Witten's return when he was a phenomenal broadcaster. We don't have to talk about that. But so they fell to 3-5, and that's what everybody points to. When they traded for Amari Cooper, the Eagles, like now, were reigning Super Bowl champions. But the Eagles were also 3-4. And the NFC East was kind of wide open. And that was the year of Alex Smith's gruesome injury that really derailed a Washington team that was kind of on the verge of making a run in that season in 2018. So it was obviously that the Cowboys got Amari and he helped, and they won 5 games in a row after falling to 3-5. But it also took an insane collapse around them. And the Eagles at present time are 6-2 and already have a half game lead on the Cowboys in terms of a one-on-one comparison because they won the first matchup. So it would take not just a collapse, it would take like a 2023 historic collapse from the Eagles for the Cowboys to win the division. A wild card is certainly not impossible. We've seen crazy things. It's very, very unlikely, but I think that context is important to understand for this season in the aftermath of the Quinnen Williams trade.
Maybe the Cowboys can sneak into the playoffs as a 7 seed and become the second team ever to win a game against the 2 seed there.
No, it happened last year.
Happened last year. Who was that?
The Commanders. No, they beat the 1 seed. I'm sorry.
But I'm talking about like the first round, that first game.
No, but it did happen last year.
So who did they play then? They played the Buccaneers, was it?
No, they hosted the Bucks.
Why can't we remember this? I can't remember anything anymore. I think I really am.
The Eagles were the 2 seed. It happened in the AFC, I think, last year. Who was the 2 seed in the AFC? Last year.
I don't know, man. This is
this
is terrible.
You vamp for me.
Well, I was just trying to take a dig in on the Cowboys. Is all. It's just because it was embarrassing how they lost to the Packers at home that year.
So the 2 seed was it didn't happen. But
not in the AFC. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen either in the NFC. I'm sorry.
Oh, because the Commanders were 6, I guess, right?
Yeah, and Detroit was 1.
Yeah, because the Packers were 7 and the Eagles beat them. Correct. Yeah, duh.
So, but I do remember.
So it is still the Cowboys.
I do remember trying to manifest it because the Packers. I remember saying like the Packers are the 7 seed again, visiting an NFC.
Yeah,
East
how did that turn out?
It didn't work. But
let's get to the Commanders. Speaking of the Washington Commanders, I own the Commanders. I mean, the Commanders fans have already admitted defeat, and I can tell that by. I tweeted out after their loss on Sunday night how the Eagles have 7 picks in the first 4 rounds. Now it's only 6. By the way, at risk of inviting, the trolls onto the comments, by showing how this annoys me, it just bothers me when people unironically, if you're doing it ironically, that doesn't bother me. That's funny. If you're doing it unironically, where you respond to a tweet that has a timestamp where you can clearly tell at that time that thing was true, and then you respond to it like 24 hours later being like, actually, this isn't true. Like, actually, yeah, I know.
I think what's worse than that is when you respond and you just tag old takes exposed. That's worse than what you're saying. Yeah.
It's like, this isn't the tweet says too that currently, meaning like in this point in time, this thing is true. So therefore, when the Eagles trade a pick and it's not true anymore, yeah, I'm aware. And also, it could still be true because, again, it depends on that Bryce Huff pick the Eagles could get, which could be 7 picks in the first 4 rounds. Well, the Commanders will have 2 picks in the first 4 rounds. They could have added, maybe, if they wanted to be sellers at the trade deadline. They did not. They decided to hold, which, by the way, we'll get to the Giants later. I can't believe they didn't sell. Not that they have a ton to sell, but still, more than nothing. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I've already taken a lot of victory laps on the Commanders. Things have gotten so pathetic and so terrible for them. Everything pointed to regression. They've regressed. They're old. And maybe they take this as a lesson. Adam Peters goes into this offseason with a big plan to fix everything. I think it's entirely possible that the 2026 Commanders bounce back. Jay Daniels gets healthy. He looks good again. They start building. They're not quite what they were in 2024, but they start building this long-term nucleus that looks better for the future. That's on the table to me. But this was a costly season. They burned a year of Jay Daniels' rookie contract when they thought they were doing the opposite and trying to go all in it. And I think that was ill-advised, and I think they could have been a spot where, okay, they take a little bit of a step back this year, but they really focus their resources in getting better in 2026 and 2027, and they would have been in a much better spot than they could have been if they didn't act like they were just picking up right where they left off from the 2024 season and traded for and acquired all these old players, including Debo, your boy, who you can say it's a good move in terms of the value. It's not, because it's not just about the draft pick. It's about the $17 million in salary that is just down the drain that they totally wasted. He's going to walk in free agency. And what was it all for? So the Commanders have been defeated, and I think their fans realize that. And you can even go to Hogs Haven right now and be like, it's time to play the young players. They have very much turned the page on this season.
A few things here. One, their uniforms looked outstanding on Sunday.
Disagree.
Just to be clear, like I've always said their best look is white jersey, burgundy pants. So
they don't even look that different to me. They just don't.
Oh, that uniform doesn't look different at all. The only thing that was different was the logo, was the W. That was the only thing that was different from the old franchise. If I don't know if that's what you're saying.
I'm saying then their main. It just doesn't. It's not like night and day.
But their main is like it's more like mustard yellow, not necessarily gold. You know what I mean? So that's why I think you lean into the burgundy if you're them. But that's a different point. I have said all along that I think you have this weird.
I was so dead right about
this.
Okay,
now it's my turn to talk.
I was wrong.
Now it's my turn to talk. I'm literally telling you how. You have this weird insecurity about the fact that the Commanders enjoyed being a good football team and just believe that everyone should just accept defeat and let the Eagles be the only team to ever exist. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. It's okay to just not be threatened by anybody else. The Commanders thought they had a chance. I hate the phrase all in, but they tried very hard and they failed. I agree with you that they banked on older players. If I will place any kind of criticism on something with the benefit of hindsight, it's that. I stand by the fact that Debo's been a serviceable player for them, but Von Miller certainly hasn't been. Laramie Tunsil hasn't really been a difference maker. The Marshawn Lattimore trade happened well before this take of yours was born, so you can't take any kind of credit for that. But that trade has just been a disaster.
Line of thinking.
I don't think that, again, you have manipulated a line that I crafted with regards to the 2015 Cowboys and how they tried to pick up where Dez caught it. And you have given me credit for that. But this is a manipulation of that. I don't think they tried to pick up where they left off. I think if we mock them for anything, it's that they assumed that they were going to be an elite team from here on out. And there was fair reason on some level to believe that.
There was not.
The reason was the quarterback. The reason was that you had a quarterback who kept you in the mix. It was the most exciting quarterback season they had in a decade and a half. And it was fair to take some of that cheese. If I compare it to any season that Washington had, apart from the RG3 injury thing, and I'm not likening Jay Daniels' situation to that, but it was after the 2012 season, or was it 2013 season, when Washington signed Deshaun Jackson. And they thought like, oh, we're good, everything's perfect, everything's awesome and whatever. And they just thought that they had arrived. I think that they were willing to do the work. The work just hasn't worked. I mean, that's really what it is. Now, again, I don't fault them for trying, and you have yet to offer what they should have done. In fact, I've offered more. You don't
need to build the oldest roster in the league. That is what they should have done. That is very easy.
Okay, who should they have pursued instead of Laramie Tunsil? I mean, and Von Miller was inconsequential, but who should they, like, from a investment standpoint?
Jalen Moore.
Okay, who should they have pursued instead of Deebo Samuel? I gave you George Pickens as an option. But
I can't even name the free agent wide receivers.
Stupid. But your perspective has been, I can't believe that Washington won't just accept that they're perennial losers. And I think it's embarrassing that they're just going to keep trying to be a good football team. No, that's your argument against them. I can't believe that they were happy about their success and that they wanted to have more. Those idiots.
That's not what I said.
That's exactly what your whole standpoint is.
No, it's not. It's that they shouldn't go all in on the aging.
How did they go all? Yes, they have squandered some draft capital.
What they don't have picks. They
still have financial resources and a quarterback on a rookie contract, so they can still capitalize on the Jaden Daniels rookie window, so to speak. Their overall franchise is not broken for forever.
You're defending one of the worst off seasons in the NFL. Adam Peters absolutely got it wrong.
I'm not defending it, but I'm saying in a vacuum, some of those things were justified. They weren't just like coping because the Eagles are their daddies or whatever. Like, that's my only point.
I'd never brought up the Eagles in the argument.
Back to the game at hand. I don't know anyone. Sometimes when something really controversial happens, the like opposite take will have some people on the hill. I don't know anyone that is like, oh, Dan Quinn was right to have Jaden Daniels in the game. Like, I don't know I haven't seen that once. I haven't seen an article. I haven't seen a tweet. I haven't seen an Instagram post. Like, I think the universe is just completely and totally against Dan Quinn here. And you do have to wonder the fallout from what that will be is specifically.
Put this Nico Hernandez comment that we have here up on the screen because they given me credit for.
I gave you credit for their age. I already said that myself.
There's also a good comment in here for you.
Like, this comment is silly from Brett Eclipse that I hate to generalize Eagles fans the way I said that people do with Facebook Cowboys fans and whatnot, but like, you all are just so insecure about any team feeling any kind of happiness at any point ever, that everyone should just be completely and totally quiet.
I didn't say that. And this isn't my comment.
I know, but you said this about the Cowboys in 2021 when they beat the Eagles in in the season finale. Again, like, y'all's whole standpoint and disposition.
Was I wrong about that?
Can you believe that any team ever, celebrated winning a game? That's so stupid of them. How he rules. Anyway, the Dan Quinn thing, pretty tough scene.
Yeah, I mean, but part of it's Jaden Daniels too. Not in terms of like him, it's not his fault. But I'm saying in terms of the durability question was there, and it's been there multiple times this season. And that's a big issue moving forward. We don't know if he can stay healthy. I really fear for Jackson Dart in a different kind of way, in terms of, I think he's just incredibly reckless with how he runs, and maybe he can rein that in. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, not a great move by Dan Quinn by any means. I mean, yeah, like you said, impossible to argue against it. And I think to his credit, he admitted that. So at least it wasn't like, oh, hey, who knows or whatever. So, I mean, he really didn't have a chance to say anything else, but still there are coaches who might not have admitted defeat like that. So I guess credit to him for at least falling on his sword. But yeah, it's bleak for the Commanders. They are 3-5. What are they? What's their record now?
3-6.
They're 3-6.
Are they 3-6? I've said several times.
The 3-6, and then their schedule coming up here is not getting any easier because they get the Lions this week. So very
Lions about to go on their NFC East run because they play the Commanders and then the Eagles and then because the Cowboys play them the Thursday after Thanksgiving. So I think that's Thanksgiving week, the week we're not sure. But so at least 3 out of 4. Maybe they play the Giants. Who knows?
So I think the Commanders should have pivoted, and I think they should have sold. I don't know why they didn't try. I mean, maybe they tried, and there's nothing there.
There was some chatter. There were some reports and some reporting that they were maybe going to move Deebo. It just maybe didn't work. And so,
but I think especially given their lack of draft picks, they should have made a really big effort to just be like, screw this season. We're just getting everything we can.
See, like that seems like a hypocritical argument, because you can argue that they're just like now trying to take their medicine, and they're trying to say, okay, we tried that last year with Marshawn Lattimore. So let's.
No, I'm saying selling though.
Well, who are they selling? I mean, you're over here saying that they have nobody on their roster that's worth a
Zach Ertz could probably, I don't know. Zach Ertz.
Oh my gosh! And how come there's no criticism for signing Zach Ertz and how old he is? He's contributing to that oldest roster in the NFL.
He actually played well last year and has played well this year. But
the bias is insane and absurd.
And also, it's like a quarterback. I'm not
the man who dropped a not touchdown in the first Super Bowl the Eagles won skates by criticism. Of course.
This is not. You don't even believe that.
I do remember in that moment thinking, like, how come that's I thought it was a catch, but I remember thinking like how like it was at the peak of like, what's a catch, what's not a catch, whatever. But
he took 3 steps, he breaks the plane, the ball is still in control.
Fumbled. Should have been.
He still catches it then in the end zone.
Sure.
Whatever.
Anyway. Okay, are we ready to move on to the Giants?
Let's move on to the New York Football Giants. Here's my first take on the Giants, not the ESPN show, but I almost forgot about them. I opened up Big Blue View today and I was like, oh yeah, the Giants didn't even make any moves. They didn't even sell anyone. What are they doing? I don't know.
Who are they selling? Like, again, you're criticizing both of these teams for not selling. Who are they selling?
I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau, are they going to resign him?
Why would anyone buy Zach Ertz when buying old people is dumb, according to BLG?
I mean, that you're not going to get much for him, but you could probably get turn whatever, him in a 7th into a 6th or whatever. Like anything helps. I think.
When the Cowboys turned a 7th into a young player with 2 years of team control, it was viewed as like,
I said that was a good move.
So anyway, the Giants don't have anyone to sell. To be very clear, I do find you would have thought that maybe somebody would have been on Russell Wilson for the price you're talking about, or we would have seen Kirk Cousins. Like, I really thought we all thought one of the veteran quarterbacks was going to get moved, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, I have a hard time. Flacco got something, so why can't they?
Why Jameis? If it's not Russell, yeah, I agree.
Right? Yeah. Why can't you get something for either Jameis or Russell at that point? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Giants are clearly just done. They had that nice little stretch there. They beat the Eagles. Jackson Dart, and then
and a year from now, like Brett Eclipse just did, you all are going to say, can you believe the Giants were celebrating like they won the Super Bowl when they beat the Eagles on Thursday Night Football?
I didn't say that.
I said Brett Eclipse in the comment section. You all have this weird agenda. I recognize that you didn't win a Super Bowl for a very long time, but you're a very good team now. It's okay to be proud of yourselves. So I don't know that we have to say about their game that they lost. It was gross.
No, I mean, okay. This is the same Giants that we've seen every year.
2-7.
I think so. Here's the thing that I would be worried about. Let's say if I rooted for the New York Giants, they have kind of a soft end of the schedule here, where in the final 4 weeks of the year, they host the Commanders, they host the Vikings, who looked better, obviously this past week, but who knows? McCarthy, inconsistent. Then they play the Raiders in Vegas. They host the Cowboys in the final week of the season. The worst case scenario for the Giants is they have a false positive there at the end of the year, kind of rip off some wins, make their draft pick, which doesn't matter as much when you have the quarterback, which they might, but still doesn't help you get that impact player that you could. So I think that would be my worst fear if I was rooting for the Giants.
I was on Kay Adams' show today on Wednesday, and it was Gronk and me, so no big deal. But I was there in the waiting room as Gronk was finishing, and she asked him about, I don't know what they were talking about before, but he advocated for Brian Daboll, said that they should bring him back next year. And I wanted to jump in and be like,
for what? What? Let's literally just give me a reason.
I mean, he couldn't, but
the reason is
I wanted to jump in and be like, yeah, Gronk, do it. Let's go. I hope
exactly.
Yeah. So
the reason they would do is that he
helped Jackson Dart be good as a rookie. Yeah, that's it.
Also, by the way, I saw this, with all due respect, my good friend Ed Valentine, this list of the top 10. Have you seen this list that he put up on Big Blue View of the top 10 replacements potentially for Brian Daboll?
No.
I really hope the Giants.
I bet Mike McCarthy's on it because he did ask me about that a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
I really hope the Giants, the Maras, the Tishes are looking at that list.
I know that you are incapable of looking at Mike McCarthy objectively, but I think Mike McCarthy would be great for Jackson Dart or Cam Ward. I think that he would be great for their development as a quarterback.
Great. I hope they hire him.
Okay. Who are the other names though besides Mike McCarthy?
Cliff Kingsbury, Mike Kafka, Lane Kiffin.
There's no way. Lane Kiffin's one of my Gators.
I would love if the Giants hired Nick Saban. No.
All due respect to Ed, this sounds like one of those non-FanDuel sports betting partner sportsbook emails we get that are here are the most likely it seems like that. And then they'll be like Michael Strahan, or you know what I mean? They'll be a weird name like that.
Credit for, I think it's fair. His argument is they kind of need a proven coach at this point. someone who has done it, as opposed to they've tried the up and comer thing, like Dable and Joe Judge.
Well, they've also tried to like been around for a little bit, like Pat Shurmur.
But like been around, had no success. They need like if they're gonna try someone who's actually at least been successful in the past. That doesn't mean they will be successful here. But I think that's a fair thing to propose. Like I mentioned the bad names. He did say John Harbaugh. Obviously, if somehow
then why Mike McCarthy is not an option for you?
I mean, I'm a little more interested in John Harbaugh than Mike McCarthy, who didn't. John Harbaugh famously didn't be the only 2 seed ever to lose to the 7 seed in the playoffs. So that's a nice little bonus he has going for him.
He's also been the 1 seed and lost several times.
Why didn't the Cowboys keep him then?
I'm talking about John Harbaugh. That he's been the 1 seed and lost several times. I mean, like again, these demerits only get listed when you have a connection to the Cowboys.
Brian Schottenheimer's really crushing it and stuff. That's right.
So I hate to be the what I'm sure is the like annoying Giants fan walking around. But the last time they hired a guy of the cut you're talking about was Tom Coughlin, because he'd had this success in the early days with the Jaguars. Then he came in and got really lucky twice. And
don't get me started.
Okay, let's get to week 10. Cowboys are on bye, but I believe every team Washington is playing as well. So what are the rules here, Brandon? How do we do this?
We look in, whereas we talk about the teams on the podcast at first in division order, we talk about the upcoming games that week in chronological order, which starts then with the New York Football Giants, who are only 3.5-point underdogs to the Chicago Bears,
which is in Chicago. So this is
on the road. So it's basically an even matchup.
Yeah, this would be an even matchup. Oh, so you've explained betting odds to people this episode. Teams conventionally are 3-point favorites at home. That's your kind of standard
2.5, 3. Yeah,
right. 3 is kind of average, but your standard 3-point favorites at home. If you're a home team, you generally get spotted 3 points against the visitors. Obviously, if you're bad, that changes. If you're amazing, it's even more so, whatever. But to Brandon's point, the fact that Chicago is only favored by 3.5 is only giving them a 0.5-point bump because they are at home. If you had told me without looking that Chicago was 3.5-point favorites, I would have assumed it was on the road. Like I would have, it would have been that significant. Same. So, wow, I'm gonna take. Well, Chicago pulled one off last week.
Yes.
I think I'm gonna take the Bears.
I don't trust either of these teams. I think I have to trust the Giants less, just because they're banged up. They've been so bad. I do like, for as much as there are things that I don't like about the Bears, Caleb Williams being one of them, I like Ben Johnson better than I do Brian Dable. So I'm going to side with the Bears and the home field. But like, if my betting advice is do not bet this game. I'm just not touching this one. Since we have to make a pick, I will take the Bears to win and cover, but I feel terrible about it.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bears as well. I saw Colston Loveland, NFC Offensive Player of the Week. Good for him. So, okay, next up we have where are the Eagles prime? Oh, the Eagles are Monday Night Football. It's coming.
Monday night.
Oh, this is the Monsters Inc. game?
I guess so. Or no, I think that's actually
you're right.
Chargers game.
Okay. Okay, but we're not there yet. The Commanders are so the Giants are in the noon window. The Commanders are in the afternoon window. So if you want to watch purely NFC East football, you have 3 different opportunities this week. Cowboys obviously off. Commanders are 8. They are at home. Remember, we just talked about the rules of 3-point home favorites. They are home and 8.5-point underdogs to the Lions. So they would be 11.5-point dogs on a neutral field.
I love the Lions in this matchup. They just got kind of like they got bullied a little bit.
This is a whoop their ass game for the Lions.
The Lions are going to be very mad. And the Vikings won fair and square. I don't think that was a fluky win.
Right.
Like they just took it to the Lions, and I think the Lions had their pride kind of questioned. Not their pride of Detroit, their one pride, but their pride. And and I think that they're absolutely going to come out, which they usually do in the Dan Campbell era, and course correct. And I think they're just going to smoke this Commanders team. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's going to be similar to last week in the Washington Football Bowl, where you just like blink and it's 28-0. It's going to happen so fast. And Detroit, to your point, Detroit's going to try to win 2 games in one. You know what I mean? It's going to be like that level of release. Okay, so we're both.
I have a stat for you here. So this is from Grant Paulson. That's right, stats plural. the Commanders are this is as of their most recent loss, the Commanders are the first NFL team since the 2020 Jaguars to lose 3 straight games by at least 21 points. It's been 5 seasons since the team suffered 3 losses in a row that lopsided. So let's because it's already obvious that we're taking, the Lions here to cover. Will you say that they lose their 4th straight game by 21 plus points?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So that's it's really bad.
Well,
I wouldn't
even if it was I'm trying to think of a good, like the Patriots. I wouldn't do that, but because the Lions are in the specific situation that we're discussing, I'm willing to do it. Okay, that takes us to the final NFC East game of the week. The Philadelphia Eagles are on the road at Lambeau Field, pro football's holiest cathedral. This is the Monday night game. Green Bay, the Eagles have eaten into the standard 3-point home field advantage. Green Bay's only laying 2.5 points at home at Lambeau Field.
Interesting line. I did not expect that. I thought it might be like Eagles minus 1.5. I did not expect the Packers to be favored like this, especially they've had not the most impressive season. They haven't passed the eye test, I would say.
The Packers are saying?
Yeah, since week 2, they had that win over the Steelers, which is pretty good. I give them credit for that. The game was a little bit close at first before they broke away. You lose to the Panthers. Panthers have been frisky, but they were 12.5 point favorites entering that game. Jordan Love right now, I really don't love the season he's had. And
I saw a TikTok that said Jordan Love is the worst good quarterback. I thought that was a really great way to put it.
That's funny.
But I think it's funny, but I think it's also fair.
Jordan Love, who crushed the Cowboys as the number 7 seed.
You can't in one hand talk about the Cowboys being this perennial joke and then act like beating them is some badge of honor.
I really this is really a nitpicky thing. Maybe it doesn't matter at all. I just hate how he jumps off his back foot and literally every pass. It's he doesn't need to at times though. There'll be a time where just step into the throw. You don't need to do it. That interception, or no, you didn't have an interception on that play because the Panthers dropped it. But what should have been an interception in the end zone there? It's literally one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in a game. It's not you made a anticipation throw and threw it to there and that player jumped it. It's just no, you were just running around and basically threw it to the other team. It was 4th down, so you take the chance, but terrible. So don't love that. And also the Packers just lost Tucker Kraft. That's a huge deal. He'd been playing super well this year. So it's weird. And this is obviously the tush push revenge.
I didn't even that went over my head. Wow.
The fan fiction scenario I have for you is that the Eagles are on the 1-yard line with needing a game-winning touchdown. And they just run that play to win the game on that play. That would be very funny to me and very very fitting. So would like to see it. I like the Eagles. I think they're trending in the right direction. They're coming off the rest of the bye week. Offensive line getting healthier. Running game figuring things out. Jalen Hurts is playing good football. The pass rush should be better. You're adding Jalen Phillips. Brandon Graham should be ready for this game. Nolan Smith, the Eagles activated his practice window. Don't know 100% if he's going to play, but he might be able to. I just think things are trending up for the Eagles. The Eagles have, as you would attest to, had a pretty good plan for Micah Parsons in the past in dealing with him. So I like the Eagles in this game. Give me those points. I'm absolutely going to take those points.
I think if the Eagles lose, I'm taking the Eagles to be clear, but it will be a game where the Eagles fans on Twitter are tweeting I hate the Cowboys for trading Micah to the Packers. It will be one of those Micah games. You know what I'm saying? But I don't really view that as likely because he hasn't had it. I do think that's an interesting subplot to this because you and a lot of people very weirdly were obsessed with Micah winding up in Philadelphia and tried to manifest it. And there were reports that the Eagles called. So again, kind of a fun
reports
subplot.
That Micah wanted to be here.
I do think that the most interesting subplot, I think it's so lame, but if I would ever endorse running the tush push 4 times in a row like they did against the Giants, that would be funny. If it would be funny if a better fan fiction scenario for you, and if you allow me, is Eagles are up by let's call it 4. There's a minute and 47 seconds left. The Packers have 3 timeouts. The Eagles are on their own 9-yard line after having taken over the ball there, and they're just trying to bleed out clock. and they just tush push and burn the timeouts that way and just tush push. That would be funny. And I don't blame the Packers because I agree with the conspiracy theorists that they fell on the sword because they don't have an owner and all that jazz. But that doesn't change the fact that they're still the team associated.
You still have to wear that. Even if you were like used, you still were the team that allowed yourselves to be used. And
I will say the Eagles have done a lot and had some weird things happen that weren't in their control to have me back off of my agenda in that regard, because I was always team banning the tush push because you can't stop it as late. And that's on.
Well, and you were also team make a final decision on it in the 2024 or 2025 off season.
Yep. So I'm gonna take the Eagles. Wow. I do think that this is not an NFC North mixtape, but this is a prove you're not a fraud game. Packers.
So clearly you're taking the Eagles to win outright. You're saying, not just the points.
Correct. Okay. But I'm getting points. So
right.
Are we ready for songs?
We are.
Okay.
And while we talk about songs here, we have a comment from Eagles Girl 52 who asked me, she forgot to ask me last week when I picked Don't Fear the Reaper by the Blue Oyster Cult. If you're an SNL Saturday Night Live fan, if you are more cowbell. I've actually heard of that reference. I don't fully know what it means because I don't not watch SNL, but I don't actively watch SNL. So I don't fully know what that means.
My song.
But now I'll have to go watch the clip.
We do a lot of work with PR people around here, and I was in a meeting last week, and I was waiting for the person. So the PR person and I were talking, and we just got to the subject of reality shows, and she convinced me to watch Dancing with the Stars because they had a Wicked episode. And I've always liked dancing shows. I loved So You Think You Can Dance, but I gave Dancing with the Stars a shot. I've had it on in the background as I've been working last week. I'm a Dancing with the Stars fan. And that being said, I'm going to take a song from Wicked, the movie. One of the best songs, Wicked Part 2, aka Wicked for Good, is slated to come out today, the day we're doing this. There's like I don't know what it's called, but like a live sing-along or some special or something that NBC's airing. So I'm very excited about that. I'm going to go with Dancing Through Life from Wicked, the movie. Shout out to Jonathan Bailey. Great song, great tune. And Wicked, because the movie came out last year, you agree that music has a transformative power for us. Kind of reminds me of this like cooler weather time of year. So we're right in that sweet spot.
You added it to the playlist like right now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Because I didn't know it comes up that quickly or that you did it instantly.
Do you know how the internet works?
I didn't know that you actually did it. Anyway, so we already have I thought we had a Wicked song on here.
Yeah, we do.
Which we do. It's a different one. It's What Is This Feeling? Funny that we don't have Defying Gravity on there. I am going to go with the song that I talked about wanting to pick last week, but I wanted to get my Halloween or at least somewhat spooky theme song in. So that instead, finally revealing, I'm going to pick Shine by Collective Soul, which has been on in like a commercial recently. I forget exactly what it's about, but there's like a dad running on a treadmill, and I guess his daughter's old room in her house that she's like visiting her house. I don't know exactly the context, but that song is always playing on in the background. It's been in my head. And my dad is a big Collective Soul fan, so one's kind of for him. Shout out, Dad, big listener and watcher of the podcast. So Collective Soul's Shine. Collective Soul has a bunch of good songs. December, among others. So go listen to some Collective Soul. That is my
go listen to this Collective Soul song on the NFC East Mixtape, which is accessible on Apple Music and to some degree, at the very least, on Spotify as well. We don't know if that's being updated.
We'll never know.
Okay, Brandon, as we leave, I would like you to tell me, I'm going to give you a hypothetical. If you were going to sit down to watch season 4 of Stranger Things for the first time, and you could eat either a strawberry ice cream serving in a cone or in a bowl, what would you choose and why?
I'm always, or I'm not always as in 100%. I am vast majority of the time bowl, just because I don't want the mess going on.
Yeah, and it's also like a pressure. You're on like a timer. You have to eat it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I have sensitive teeth too, so I can't really eat ice cream that quickly. So it's just not a good combo of like I have to take my time with it, and it's melting in a cone. I enjoy a cone, like the actual like who doesn't like a cone? The flavor of the cone is great. It's a great experience, but I can't do it. I have to go on the side of caution and use the cup.
I agree with this entirely. I think this is going to bother you as much as it will bother me, even though it's bothered me many times. On the subject of dads, my dad, I don't know that you would say that they're strong teeth, but he bites like ice cream and popsicles.
That
so he'll like it'll be like yeah, it's what I'm saying. It'll be like the like he'll do that with a popsicle.
That's like torture. I can't do it.
Okay, as we leave, tell us what you love about torture.
I don't.